All right, guys, welcome back to the Pace and Power podcast. I'm your host, Ed. With me today, I've got Pat in the top left. How's it going?
Nice to see you.
And we've got a very special guest here, Mr. Lee Judges from Arsenal Fan TV. How's it going, mate?
Good, thanks, Ed. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on, mate. Really, really appreciate you coming.
No problems.
The nature of your guesting on this podcast is not going to be the happiest one because we're talking about Arsenal.
You're in the hot seat, yeah.
And I think it's time for me to come clean to the fact that I'm not an Arsenal fan. I'm, in fact, a Spurs fan, a big Spurs fan. I didn't tell you that in the emails because I thought you would.
No, you didn't. Like you conned me on it now.
Don't worry, I am an Arsenal fan, so.
But I'm more seeing it from the perspective of, keep your friends close, enemies closer. I want to get the inside scoop as it was on the other side. So there's one overarching question I really have wanted to ask you this whole time. And that was, if we did this a year ago, say, and I said to you, Arsenal would finish 8th, first time in 26 years without Europe, what would you have said then?
I'd have laughed at you, especially after the FA Cup final, especially after beating Man City in the semi-final, beating Liverpool on that run, and also in the league just after that, in the FA Cup, I would have laughed at anybody who said that we was going to come 8th. I wouldn't have believed that. I felt that we would. I don't say we would have been in the top 4, but I thought we'd be challenging for it, and I did think that we'd have a decent season. And I honestly thought that Mikel Arteta was going to be the real deal. I really did after what I see towards the back end of last season. I have to say, but it's been a massive disappointment. Massive disappointment.
Yeah, because you mentioned the FA Cup, and I just remember the whole fan base feeling so unified, and everyone was just so optimistic. I was thinking, we beat Man City, as you said, we beat Liverpool, beat Chelsea, which is always nice. And I was just thinking, we can beat anyone. What's stopping us next season if we have a reasonable transfer window, which I feel like it feels like we did. But then here we are.
Yeah. I will say this: when people say, "Oh, we had a good," I totally agree with you there. It was a reasonable transfer window. It wasn't a great transfer window. I think we improved with the Gabriel and obviously Parza, but we needed creativity in midfield with goals in midfield, and we never addressed that. We never addressed that in the transfer window. We went after a while for all the summer, and then we pulled out of it, and we never. And if I be honest, the transfer window cost us. It cost us because if you have a look of once we brought in Odegaard and obviously Smith Rowe developed in the second part of the season, Arsenal weren't as bad as what everybody makes out to be.
Definitely.
But ultimately, that transfer window and Arsenal not doing the business impacted on the season. I didn't think it would do at the time, but it certainly did, and that was one thing that cost us.
Yeah.
And when you look back on it, will they make the same mistakes again? And probably they will. And this is why Arsenal Football Club is in the state that it's in at the moment.
You see the players that you're getting linked to at the moment, and it's players like the Tapsoba, and players like that. When you got Saliba at home, he's had a good season. I want to get into the Saliba business as well, to be honest, because from an outside perspective, it makes absolutely no sense to have a player like that playing everywhere but Arsenal, effectively. And there's still talk of him not really. Arteta must hate him or something.
Well, I don't really know what's going on there. I will say this: I think that people have to realise that he's only 19, and to come into the Premier League as a defender at 19 and hit it running is difficult. So I get the thing of looking at it in the long term. And maybe a few loans here and there will do him good so that when he comes into the side, he's ready. But then when I look at the players we've got in there already, without no disrespect to Holding, I think Holding's a good squad player. He's not going to be top quality. So why keep persevering with the likes of those sort of players? And David Luiz, for instance, now is gone. So there's not only I think 2 spaces available, and there's probably 3 now. We've got. I'm not going to say his name because I can't. We've got Dino that's doing well in Germany, so he could come back into it. And he's a little bit older, so I think that's something that we could look at. And then, but I do think, I look at we've got Saliba, and I think we're being linked, which is this is what I don't get involved with the transfer market. We're being linked with Ben White at 50 million. Well, we haven't got 50 million to spend on a central defender. So what's the point of that anyway? Even if we did, I would be disappointed that we're spending 50 million pound on a defender when we've got other areas that need improving, i.e. midfield needs improving massively. But with Saliba, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that giving him the experience of loans and everything like that. And I think that one of the things that worries me about him is that you're putting a lot of pressure on a 19-year-old kid to come in and do the business. And I haven't seen that many great 19-year-old central defenders, if I'll be honest. Now, you see them more for up front because it's off the cuff and all that, but defenders have got to be disciplined, got to be, it's a little bit more of a talk position, if you know what I mean. And
you're right.
And I think that I would be liking him to come into the squad. But if he's getting more games on loan for a year or 2 years, I'm quite happy with that, if I'll be honest.
Yeah, as long as he comes back and is still,
as long as he comes back and then plays, exactly right.
Yeah, because I'm just hoping that everyone says he's an Arsenal fan from young. He is apparently still desperate to sort of make an impression at this club. So we just hope that he doesn't feel like he's been dicked around a bit and now he's left a bad taste in his mouth and he's desperate to leave or whatever. But I think you're bang on. The only example I can think of a player that age is obviously Fofana at Leicester.
He's done fantastically well.
Who was Saliba's teammate, and everyone in France always said that Saliba was the more talented out of the two. So it's an exciting prospect, something to look forward to.
And with Fofana, if I'll be honest, there's been times when he's done well and there's times when he's not. And I no disrespect to Leicester, it's a different pressure when you play for Arsenal, So I think that if. What I would like to see, and hopefully he's been. They're talking to him. They're telling him what they want. And what all these things may have been planned before when he signed and all that. You're not going to start for the first couple of years and whatever. And it may be now that the next move for him is if Arsenal are set to, or they feel that he is the man for him. I think maybe either we bring him back now or we put him out on loan again back to a Premier League club.
Get used to the pressure because
get used to it.
It's not France. That's all I'm saying.
No, exactly. So it'd be very interesting to see what they do with him.
Yeah.
Bizarre situation, though, definitely. The next question I want to ask is, was there a specific point at the start of last season where you thought, we could be in trouble here for the rest of the season? Because remember, you started off really well against, was it Fulham? And I was thinking we lost our first game. We lost the first game to Everton. And I was thinking, just another year of misery. Mourinho's got it all wrong. And, I'll talk about that at some point. But, when did it really start to go wrong for Arsenal? What was the result where you're like, no, something's not right?
Well, for me, I felt Aston Villa when we got absolutely stuffed by Aston Villa. I think that there were signs a little bit before that. I think we played well. We put it well. I don't say we lost to West Ham. In a game which, we beat West Ham, but realistically, they was all over us. How we got away with that result. But wins cover up 1,000 sins. So it was not really thought of that. But I felt after the Aston Villa game, I looked at that game against Aston Villa and there was so many things wrong about it. Like, Jack Grealish run the show in midfield. Wasn't, I think Jack Grealish was fouled 1,000 times by players over that, and Arsenal never fouled him once in that game, and that tells you everything. There was no, it was just something missing, something not right about Arsenal that day, and you could tell that the creativity wasn't there in games going on, leading on to that, like Leicester. I felt a couple of decisions went against us, but for me, Aston Villa outplayed us from minute 1 to 90 minutes at the Emirates. And I can tell you this now, even in our darkest days at the Emirates, we've never been played like that game. And if I think our home form was disappointing, but for me, Aston Villa,
I still wake up in cold sweats thinking about that game sometimes. You're right, because there was a couple of games before that where we lost, but it was by 1 goal or something, and we were just we were 3-0 down. We were 1-0 down like a minute into the game, and I just remember thinking like, "Oh, what is this?" And there was that one bit as well where, like, if you remember, Ross Barkley and Jack Grealish were sort of on the wing with Rob Holding and Bayard, and it was honestly, it was like a training ground game. Like they were popping it about, and Holding's just shifting on the spot, not moving, and I was just thinking this could be like 10-0.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to watch it. That I remember that he was dancing on the, you know what I mean, and basically they had us on toast that day. And I think if you remember right, they should have scored a goal in the first seconds of the game as well, and that was disallowed. Remember, like, you know, and it was just, you could see the signs there, and the you know, I always look at people when people say about home form. Well, have a look at your home. Why are you not doing well at home? And the facts of the matter is, teams come in there, they sit in there, they defend, and you've got to be able to open them up, create and all that. And we just didn't have no creativity whatsoever in the team. It was apparent that day. It was apparent probably, you know, against West Ham, if I'll be honest, but we'd won that game. And we that was our problems. And, you know, if you look at our home form for most of the season, it's been pretty poor. And the reason is because you've got teams come in there and sitting, putting banks of four from defence to midfield, and you've got to break them down. And we just didn't have the creativity. And that was the problem. And we was then going to be in for a season of difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, if
sorry, you go.
If after that game, I think you were bang on. Is after that game where I thought like this is going to be a long season. You just knew it.
Yeah,
I do think with that Villa game, I don't think it ends up quite like that if there's fans in the ground. Obviously, I think I'm giving Arsenal fans a lot of credit here, which is, you know, not my favourite thing to do. But like, I just don't think any fan of the team could accept a 3-0 home defeat to Villa without, you know, something really happening. I don't think you'd go down quite like that.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think there is, you know, look, listen, we ain't the only team to suffer from that. Every team at home has probably suffered from that at some stage. I think that if you're in a performance like that, you're right. Things are not going quite right. The fans make you respond a little bit better. But I think that when the fans are not there and things are not going well, we just carry on doing what we're doing, and see if we can get it through. But where the fans would probably put the pressure on to make things, you know, make players do a little bit better. But I take that point on board, Ed, but every team suffered from it this season, you know,
true,
and so we can't really throw that as an excuse. But listen, I think that would Sheffield United have been relegated or ever had a poor season if they're fat? The answer to that is probably not. But I look at it, you know, Leeds have got a very, very ferocious fan base. They seem to do okay at home. You know, Everton have had a shocking season at home, you know, because they've got a good home support. Right. And you can say Tottenham as well. Tottenham, you know, on their new stadium has suffered as well because, you know, you do need that. I think sometimes that little, sometimes it's not encouragement as well. It is like, you know, this fact, the fans are not happy. I think it works on both ways. So
it lets the players hide a bit. If there's no fans to get on their back a bit, they can just be like, well, you know, they get that extra little bit of a push.
Yeah, a little bit of extra motivation. Just go through the motions a little bit more, like, you know. And I'm not, you know, but ultimately, and I will say this: people do say that we weren't having those sort of problems the season before. When we come back, there was no fans in the FA Cup final. There was no fans in the semi-final, but we found a way to get through that. So I get what you're saying there, but I don't think it's too much of an excuse.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So I think I know the answer to this because obviously I've watched a lot of your stuff on AFTV and all this, and I think I know where you're at with this question. But this is just for people that might not know. Usually, I'd say people blame one of 3 things for a club not doing particularly well: the players, the manager, or the board, or all 3. Where would you say with Arsenal, if you had to choose one of those 3 to diagnose the big problems, which one would you say? Because obviously it's a combination of all 3. No one's disputing.
Yeah, it is a combination of all 3, but ultimately it always falls on the manager. That's how it is. You know, results, you know, there is a saying in football, you're only as good as your players, which is true. But ultimately, if that was the case, then no managers would be sacked, would they? Because you know, the manager would go into the office and say, "Well, I haven't got the players," you know. But ultimately, it comes down to the manager. He picks the team, he picks the tactics, and I feel that when you look at teams like Everton, not so much towards the back end of the season, but during the season, was getting the best out of players that weren't probably as good as Arsenal players. Certainly West Ham, you'd have to bring into that with David Moyes.
Yeah.
You know, has got the best tune out of his players. And I don't think that Mikel Arteta got the best tune out of his players. When I look at it, and I'll be honest about it, you know, what players did he get a good tune out? Now, I go looking before Christmas. Aubameyang wasn't playing well, Lacazette. Why? They weren't getting the service. So I can understand that. But in the second half of the season, you've got Odegaard in there, you've got Smith Rowe. Aubameyang still didn't perform. Pepe was poor until the latter part of the season. People go on about what Pepe done and everything there. I will judge Pepe again next season because I felt he was fantastic after we'd gone out of the European game against Villarreal. When the pressure's off, I want to see what he's doing when the pressure's on. And I think that comes down to Mikel as well. You know, the consistency of playing Willian in place of players like Pepe and also Martinelli. So, for me, I think Mikel Arteta got it all wrong this season. And what I will say is that he's trying to change the culture. Okay, I get that. And so we'll see what he does. But come August, you know, the pressure is firmly on him. And I feel that by this sort of performances this season, I think he's put himself under the pump too much. I think that if Arsenal have one or two bad games, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, and if he doesn't get what he wants in the summer, then you know he's a dead man walking. As simple as that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, and I think going back to the point about not having fans, I think he was very lucky that there weren't fans at the stadium, because after the home loss to Burnley, that was when I was firmly, this has gone too far. I think we need to change. And to be honest, I'm not sure where you stand on it, but I haven't really deviated from sort of being Arteta out for since then. Yeah, I'm completely with you in the sense that I think, you know, he's here now, given the transfer window, but as soon as things start going wrong next season, he has got to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll say this now, you know, what other big club would be eighth in the league and not have their manager? Listen, whether you like what Spurs are doing, whatever you think that they are and whatever, maybe they're getting it wrong or whatever, they're trying to do it right. You know, they're trying to have the big club mentality by, you know, and what I mean by that is that they weren't going to get top four. Mourinho's job was to get the team top four, gone. Yeah. Whether you like it or whether you don't, that's there it is. Real Madrid, I would never have a manager going into the following season finishing eighth in the league. Yeah. Juventus wouldn't. Man, let's be honest now. I think Solskjaer's done a fairly decent job at Manchester United. If he comes eighth next season, I guarantee you now, he's gone. He's gone. He is gone. I guarantee that doesn't matter. The Chelsea manager's just won the Champions League. If he's eighth come December, he is gone.
Well, no, Chelsea's probably gone if they're second.
So, you know, exactly. You know, and I'll tell you that now. I stand by it now. If Pep come eighth for next season with Manchester City, he wouldn't be at Manchester City next season. Don't matter how good they think he is. You know, there's no way that it'll happen. So Mikel Arteta is a very, very lucky man. Very, very fortunate to be still in a job. Yeah. Now, take that and do the business, because if you don't, you're finished. You're finished.
I wouldn't say I feel sorry for Arsenal fans, but I think you're in a very tricky position, because where with other clubs where things weren't going too well, you know, there was rumours about Mourinho getting sacked long before he actually did get sacked. And there's never been anything about Arteta ever leaving Arsenal, despite him performing, you know, I'd argue in that first half of the season, few managers performed worse with the tools they had than he did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there was no talk. And he's getting another summer transfer window. He's getting another window where he gets to choose the playing staff and choose who to go and this, that, and the other. And it looks like he's getting rid of the deadwood, which I think, is a great thing. But like you're giving him another window to choose his own players. And then if he goes, say he's gone by October, you're left with all the players that he has signed for the next manager sort of, cobble together. So I think Arsenal really, I think it's a bit of a shit show right now, if I'm honest. And that's a Spurs fan talking.
Well, that's the thing. It's very. We're not going to talk about Spurs too much this episode, but it's very fortunate that they're embarrassing themselves even more than us.
Well, listen, when it comes to Spurs, I don't want to compare myself with Spurs or whatever, and I don't mean that disrespect for Spurs. We've got to look at our own house and sort that out. And enjoying the misfortune of Spurs, it's fantastic, but ultimately you've got to sort your own house out. And the question is, I don't care what players leave this football club, apart from Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Tierney, Gabriel. The rest of them, I haven't got a problem. If Leno says he wants to go, see you later. Not a problem. Bellerin, see you later. Xhaka, see you later. Partey, I'm on the fence with him at the moment, so I'll wait to see what happens with him this year. I think getting himself a decent partner. Yeah. I don't care if Lacazette goes, Aubameyang goes, Eddie goes, any of those sort of players go. The ones I want to keep are the young ones, and that is the problem. That is the problem at Arsenal at the moment. If you look at all those players that I've mentioned, Saka 19, Martinelli 19, Smith Rowe 20, Gabriel 22. Tierney 25, all under 25 years of age. So what does that tell you? It tells you you've got no top experienced players in our football club, and that is the problem. Now, where I say that it's not such as I feel that we're in a not as bad a position as what people make out is because of what those players that I've just mentioned. Saka is sensational for a teenager. Smith Rowe is as well. Martinelli. So we've got some very, very good young players. And I think that is our saving grace at the moment, and nothing more than that. But that's Arsenal Football Club. We're saying we've got good youngsters at the moment. That's our point.
If you had to pick one person, though, I'm completely on board with you. I've had a position of basically see you later to anyone if they're not those players. But if you had to pick one player to drive them to the airport or drive them to the next club and just honestly fuck off out of Arsenal, who are you picking?
I find that very difficult because you try and support them all year, you know what I mean? I think that if I'll be honest, Willian has been just an absolute shambles of a signing. Now I don't hate on him or any Arsenal player, But he has to me disrupted Pepe with getting more games. Reece Nelson would have had more opportunities. I just don't really see the sign. Now, I think Arsenal made a couple of real good under Mikel Arteta, some good signings. Gabriel, fantastic signing. Partey sign. They're the sort of signings we wanted 3 or 4 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago when Arsene Wenger was in charge. If we'd have got those players in, or those sort of kind of players, Arsenal would have been in a much better position.
Definitely.
We've not had what I would say a top class goalkeeper for a very, very long time. Now, I'm saying Leno's a good goalkeeper. He is a good goalkeeper, but he's not top notch. When was the last time we had a top notch goalkeeper? If you're going to go and win titles, and I go back to the George Graham era, we had John Lukic, won the league with John Lukic, decent goalkeeper. Same sort of goalkeeper as Leno, if I'll be honest. If I'll be really honest, you know what I mean? Good goalkeeper. Yeah. Ultimately, then he went and got the best. And Arsenal then, we've not got the best goalkeeper in the league. We had arguably, along with Schmeichel, one of the best goalkeepers, 1 or 2 goalkeepers in that. Certainly the best English goalkeeper in our team. We haven't got. I think the goalkeeping standard's poor, if I'll be honest. But you wouldn't put Leno in the top 4 or 5 goalkeepers in the league. Problem. When you look at Arsenal and they're being successful, how many players would in a successful side get into any other team? And you'd say, quite a few. when we was winning things, the team of the league season, we'd had 4 or 5 in there. We haven't got anybody in there. There's not one player you would take out of the Arsenal. What player would you say could go and walk into any team in the Premier League? Any team.
Yeah.
I would.
I would, well, give Saka a year or two, and he's that guy.
Yeah, you'd give Saka a year or two. You would probably say that he's got a chance. But let's talk about Saka at the moment. I think Saka's fantastic. People turning around at the minute saying he's not going to get a game for England.
He should.
I mean, like, this is England, who are not a great footballing nation. We had World Cup winners playing for players that went to the World Cups, come back with being world champions. Yeah. Now, and I say this, we've not got one international player playing for one of the elite teams regular. You look at when we was going to World Cups and European Championships, you'd be looking at France, who were going to be in the closing stages of a World Cup or European Championship. You had Vieira, Henry, Wiltord. Yeah. You had 4 or 5, you know what I mean? Then Spain, you had Fabregas, blah, 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 blah. You know, now, not one.
We've this one. Fun little fact. We've got less players going to the Euros than Brentford.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. But
it's interesting, isn't it?
It's very interesting. So we'd always have something to be looking at, but we haven't got that now. And the reason is because the standard is so poor at this football club. The standards are dropped so highly, and that is a fact. It's a fact.
Building on that, though, is there one particular player you'd have in mind that you think would change Arsenal? One realistic signing that you think you bring them in?
Well, I don't think it's realistic, but we've got to do it. There's one player out there which would transform Arsenal completely.
Who would that be?
Completely, Jack Grealish would change Arsenal completely.
Now, that's my dream signing as well. Absolute dream signing.
Yeah, I look at that and say, is it unrealistic? Probably is. But why should it be unrealistic? Why should it be unrealistic for Arsenal? Why should it be poor for us? I think if you look at it seriously from an Arsenal point of view, you know, if you sell 5 or 6 players, you can actually get him back, get that there. But he would transform. Look at what Bruno Fernandes has done at Manchester United. He's changed them completely.
Yeah.
No, I think it's weird. It's a weird cultural thing that has happened with Arsenal recently. I remember when I was growing up, you know, I'm only 23, but Arsenal would get Jack Grealish. It'd be no problem. Villa's best player, easy, snap him up, no problem. And it's now you're thinking they've got no chance. They've got City or United. If anyone's going to sign it, it'll be between those two. Maybe Chelsea, because Chelsea just can do that. But I just don't. I never will say in a million years that Grealish should go to Arsenal now, because I think there's no ambition from the board.
No, exactly. And you look at Tottenham could have signed Jack Grealish 2-3 seasons ago. They haggled over £2 million or £3 million. You know, but listen, I'm laughing at Spurs because they've done that. Arsenal have done that 15 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, now. I've seen potential in Jack Grealish for many years. I've been banging on the drum when he was in the Championship, going get him. It was the sort of player that Arsenal need. Now, what I say about Jack Grealish is, and it's unrealistic. It is unrealistic, but Arsenal need a signing that's going to excite fans back. I am not excited about going back to the Emirates. I've not been at the Emirates for over a year and a half, say, you know what I mean? I'm not excited about going back there. I'm not excited about going back to football. Why? Because the team's not exciting me. I'm fed up with what I'm seeing. I'm fed up. Now people say, "Oh, you agree, whatever." It's nothing about that. It's about a club showing the same sort of ambition as I want, trying to be what I think that Arsenal should be. Now, I don't say that Arsenal should be winning the title every season. I don't think they should be. But I expect Arsenal Football Club to be challenging for the title. When we left Highbury, we had gone invincible one season, won the FA Cup the following season, and got to the Champions League final the next. and the decline of the football club since has been absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying is Arsenal needs something that's going to excite the fans, and it's not a yellow top being sold for £80 out of the stadium, which is very nice, by the way. What they need to do is make a real statement signing.
Yeah.
And for me, that's it. That is the signing that would excite me to say, I'm not saying that if they got Jack Grealish, they was going to go and win the title, but I'll tell you what it would do. It would give us an exciting season because it would give us something special for the football club.
Yeah, and I think in a footballing sense, it ticks so many boxes for us as well. Like, so Grealish plays left wing and centre attacking mid. Those are two positions that I think we're crying out for some top quality. And like, if we sign Grealish, I'd basically say he plays wherever he wants, and then Smith Rowe takes the other position, and we're sorted.
We just build around that, and I honestly think that we wouldn't need much more after that, because we'd have a lot more of the ball, we'd contain the ball a lot more, we'd get a lot of free kicks. My God, William would be coming. Like that, so
let's not go too crazy. Let's not go too crazy.
No. But we'd keep the ball a lot more. We'd be in possession. Possession-based football would mean that we wouldn't have to defend as much. If we could buy a midfield player, a solid midfield. Don't forget also, we can afford, Arsenal at this moment in time, to lose 7 or 8 players, and recruit a lot of money, maybe even more than that, and only bring in 3 or 4, because we've got no European football. And then the following season, if we get into Europe, we can add players. So we can afford to offload 10 players, I think, this season, and only bring in 4, and still have enough, because we've only got 38 games to go through, and domestic cup competitions. So we wouldn't be in a poor place as far as depth of squad's concerned. So. No. Is it realistic? Yes, it's realistic from that point of view, that we could go and get that. But it's unrealistic because we've got owners that are not ambitious like the fans, and that is the case. Right. There's no reason why Kroenke couldn't say, right, I'll go and get you Grealish. I'll give you 200, 300 million, because he can afford it, but he won't do it.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
But when you look at Chelsea and you look at Manchester City, not unrealistic for them too, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think those two especially are sort of leaving the other clubs behind, to be honest, in terms of their transfer performance.
Because they've got the money.
We just can't compete.
No.
Right. I think we'll quickly run through some listeners' questions, then we can wrap this up. The first one I want to start is from Sam, and he's my brother. He's a Tottenham fan, so it's Tottenham question incoming. And he said, where do you see the distance between Spurs and Arsenal right now? Because, 6 years consecutively, Spurs have finished above Arsenal. We haven't won anything. But you probably would say, as a Premier League team, we performed better in that period. And he said that, when we were growing up, 6 years of finish above Arsenal under Wenger would have been inconceivable. Inconceivable.
Yeah, I look at it from, and I don't mean, I'm not disrespecting Spurs and everything. When Arsenal were at their peak, Tottenham were I didn't really feel Tottenham were rivals. It was Man United. No. You know what I mean? But and Spurs were a pain for us, because
it's like a Liverpool-Everton sort of situation, isn't it?
It was a pain. Because they had nothing to lose when they played against Arsenal. They'd give it their all. If they beat us, they would stop us maybe winning the league. If they didn't, it didn't matter. And then you go and see them play against Man United and give away 6 points, and it was frustrating. But over the years, and I don't think this is, Spurs have improved, but ultimately, and Arsenal have declined. It's not that Spurs have got and been improving. Spurs have got slightly better. Well, they have got more than better, and I'll come on to that in a second. But Arsenal have dropped, and now it's very, very even. Yeah. In fact, I'd say that I remember the last game at White Hart Lane, went to the game there, and Spurs outclassed us, beat us 2-0. I've never, ever gone to White Hart Lane and been outclassed like I was that day. And it was a massive worry. Fortunately for Arsenal fans is that Tottenham then went to Wembley. Because I tell you what, if they didn't go to Wembley that season, with the players that they had, I think they could have gone on and won the league. They was that good.
Yeah.
They was that good.
Well, it was that there's that criminal stat of those last 2 seasons at the Lane, where if you combined with the games won, games lost, if you sort of got an aggregate season from those 2 seasons, we'd won the most games, we'd lost the least games.
Yeah.
But somehow we hadn't won a title.
Yeah.
Classic.
And one of the reasons was because, you know, they went to Wembley, because I think if I can remember right, I think that season, their last season at White Lane, didn't lose a home game.
No.
So their home form was pretty good. What happened was then they went to Wembley, and it wasn't the fortress that Tottenham was. And the fact is, because, you know, like other clubs, Tottenham have gone and got a new stadium and whatever, probably was needed to a certain degree. But then I think that, you know, if Tottenham fans, I know are now saying, "Oh, this stadium's not the same as us."
No,
I said, you know, well, I could have told you that 10 years ago, Greg. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to ever be the same as White Hart Lane.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that Spurs then were I felt in a position of worry from our point of view. But like Spurs do, they go and shoot themselves in the foot. They go and get rid of Pochettino. When I think to themselves, they never looked at the bigger picture. They looked at it and thought, like, you know, this is a man that's gone through the Wembley years. There's never going to be the same going into the new stadium for a while, like it has been for Arsenal. And they should have just kept with him for the next 5 or 6 seasons, and then Spurs would have been okay. But ultimately, and I can tell you, it was the worst summer of my life up until June the 1st. Was when they played in the Champions League final. Ultimately, that was the undoing of Tottenham Hotspur, because they got things too quickly, and the expectations went up and everything like that. They lost in that final, thank God, and then the wheels come off. And so now we're in a position where both teams are in and around the same position. We had it with Fabregas, Van Persie, those sort of players, and Tottenham are going to have that now, where unfortunately, you know, the stadium and whatever take its toll, and you have to lose a couple of players, and so you've, like with Arsenal, you're sort of like trying to catch up every single time, and that's the problem. And I think Spurs are going to go through that for the next couple of seasons.
And
it's going to be miserable.
Speaking on behalf of Arsenal, let's just say we hope Harry Kane leaves Tottenham, because I've had enough of him being there.
Well, I'm on a different boat on that, really. I'm hoping that he stays, because they've not won nothing since he's been there.
Keep it up.
And he's getting older and older. And you know, I don't want Spurs having 150 million or 100 million pounds to spend on other players. I think
we'll waste it. We'll waste it. Don't worry about that.
Well, I look at Tottenham, and I do say this, is that sometimes you get a player and he's too good, so you rely on him too much. So when he's in the team, you think, oh, I don't know how Harry gets out of trouble or he'll do this. But when Harry's not in the team, Tottenham play as a team.
Yeah, sure.
So like players have got to step up, i.e. Song steps up a little bit more, so and so. So I don't think it's such a bad thing if he goes, or a bad thing if he stays. So there's 2 ways to look at it. I think that you know, that's how I feel about that.
Okay, all right. Well, I've got another question here from Ross. Sort of a slightly different question. He's asking, what is AFTV like, sort of behind the scenes? You know, what's it like? You know, you got all these videos out where you're giving these passionate rants about Arsenal. You know, what's it like having that just being out there for everyone to see?
Well, listen, it's completely changed. You know, from when I first went on that. AFTV now is unbelievably massive. It's, you know, when you go there now, the studios that they've got now is unbelievable, and you just I don't think you realise what I didn't realise what a bigger scale it was on until we started doing these watch-alongs, if I'll be honest, because it just exploded. And I say you've got to be careful. You've just got to be yourself, and like that's the trouble. But being yourself sometimes gets you in not into trouble, but like, you know, explodes on the thing with the Harry Kane thing, you know, which has been unbelievable for me in some respects. But you don't realise you're just sitting. The only thing I can say is, like, we're sitting in a room now,
Yeah.
And that's all you're doing. It's just sitting in a room. And then when you do something like the Harry Kane thing, for instance, and then the next day you realise, well, you are sitting in a room, but there's lots of people watching.
Yeah.
You don't realise how many people are watching.
Yeah. On a personal note, I've got to say though, that Harry Kane thing, I think that is brilliant. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. I look back at it, and not sometimes with a bit of embarrassment, because you don't realise that's how you are when you're watching games. But what people have related to it and is that people will sit there and go, do you know what? That's what we're like when we're at home and things like that. That's the thing, you know. So the reality of it is that, I'm not normally like that on a day-to-day basis, but when watching football, you change. And people can relate to that, like, you know. And you know, from AFTV point of view, like, we went cricket the other week, you know, and you're getting spotted wherever you go. I went up to Manchester, you know, for a break, and people are recognising you now. So it thrusts you into a different world, a different. You know, my life's completely changed to so much now that, you know, you've got to watch what you do and watch what you say, and also, like, you know, when you go out now, you've got to conduct yourself in a different way, because people recognise. I went golf yesterday, and you can see people pointing and things like that, you know, and you know, people sometimes are scared to come up and say hello, and all that. My life's completely changed from that point of view, and it just shows you how massive it is, you know. It's got me a part in a BBC show, like which I just filmed for. It's just gone absolutely crazy, you know. And
I'm really happy for you, mate. To be honest, because obviously you watch, as a Spurs fan, you only watch Arsenal fan TV when things aren't going right, obviously.
Of course.
And I've said this before many times to you know, my friends that love football. Your analysis on the show, I've always thought, was the best, sort of most reflective of what a real fan, that, you know, when you're in the ground and you're hearing people talk about the game, it's what, you know, aligns with what I think about football. You know what I mean? Some of the people on there, I don't want to talk about it too much, but it's a bit over the top, it's a bit dramatic, it's a bit this, it's a bit that. With especially your sort of post-game analysis, I'm always clicking on them ones first, because I always think your analysis is so incisive, and it's so, you just get it, you know what I mean? You just so to the point. And I think that's why, you know, you're such an integral part of the team.
Thank you very much. The one thing that I get, and it is from, you know, it's nice when you hear it from Spurs fans. Obviously, I'm in a Spurs area. My brother's a Spurs season ticket, or was a Spurs season ticket. Got a lot of Spurs friends and all that, like, you know. Well, no, I wouldn't say friends, acquaintances. But they turn around and say, look, you know, when you're talking, you could be relating to Spurs, you could be relating to Liverpool. So that's a nice thing. Is that there? I get what you're saying about the things. Is that, listen, to get on something like that, or do something like that, you've got to bring something to the party. If you just went on there, like, if I went on there now, for instance, and just said what I said, well, I probably wouldn't pick up a lot of views and all that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it is. The first one that I ever done, the first interview I ever done, obviously that exploded and all that lot. But that was just, it was just what I said, and unfortunately, I said a couple of things on that video which fans could relate to.
Yeah,
and that's how it goes. Now, so someone has to come on with a different angle and whatever, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And because it's so big, you know, there is that views related sort of base thing, which is not a great thing to have, but unfortunately that's the world you live in. It is about views. It's, you know, and I've found that out, like, you know, and I've always said this, look, I'm not one of the biggest on there, but I'm in my 50s, you know what I mean? If I was in my 30s, I would probably be smashing it, you know what I mean? But you know, at the end of it, I'm grateful for what I've got, what I do. You know, I get asked to play in charity football games now and all that, things like that. You know what I mean? It's dream stuff, really. You know what I mean? So whatever comes along, I'll take it, and just, you know, enjoy what it is. I feel fortunate that I'm in that. I'm just about to start up my own channel. which is something that I want to go into now, and probably like move more into that than the other things that I'm doing. You know, like what you guys are doing, and you know, at the end of the day, and I say this to everybody. If you've got 10 people watching you or want to, you know, that's an achievement. With you know, if you can get into the thousands, even better. But ultimately, if someone wants to watch what you're saying, you know, take it as a compliment, because before I was on AFTV, and I would comment about something in football. No one would comment about it. If I put something on a social media now, I get lots of comments. So ultimately, you know, if you've got someone interested in what you're doing, and that's good enough.
Yeah, well, I'm sure your channel will have all the success in the world. I'm sure lots of people will be tuning in. I definitely will. Yeah.
I was checking it out earlier. Actually, it looks pretty good. It looks nice. I've got one more question for you, Lee. Then I'll let you go.
No problems.
He says, "Do Arsenal need a change of transfer approach? You know, from signing the mid-level European players, sort of like your Lacazettes, your Xhakas, your this and your that. And if so, what kind of direction do you think they should go towards, like in terms of their sort of player profiling?"
I think they've got to go for players that what we sort of alluded to earlier on. They've got to go for players that are going to be the best. It's no, you know, and I'd rather get 3 top players instead of 5 or 6 ordinary players. So go and get the best midfield player, go and get the best striker, and go and get the best defender. Ultimately, that's all that Arsenal need to do. Best goalkeeper as well, if there is one available. I'm not saying Leno. Like, look, we could do with if for instance, if Leno come up to me, if I was in charge of Arsenal, and Leno turned around and said, "Oh, I'm not quite happy. I'm thinking I'm not going to sign a new contract. I'm not going to stay." I go, "Right, see you later." I'll go and get say like Johnson at West Brom or someone like that. And build sort of like either an English-based, Premiership-based team, or go and get the elite players. I'd go and get Basuma as a midfield player to go alongside Partey, and I'd sign Grealish. So there's my 3 players that I would sign. That's all you. That's all you need. That would do for me for this. It's not going to win you the league, but it's going to put you in a position of when you're playing 38 games, you've got a good chance of beating teams tenfold. Yeah. Swap a couple of players over, but three big signings, but massively so. You know, go and get the players that we need. Like maybe another striker, but like, you know, that's going to be unrealistic. But like Grealish, Basuma, and a right back. Yeah, and not just any right back, a top right back. You know, like, and then you go right now. You've got 2 decent fullbacks. You've got 2 decent midfield players, and you've got players that can score goals up front and crack. Pepe on one side. Just make Pepe on one side. I would actually play Pepe down the middle, to be honest. I'd put him down the middle. I'd play Pepe, Grealish, and Smith Rowe. Then you've got one hell of a side, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I also think that we need to bring in another midfield player as well. Definitely. And I would go sometimes a free transfers here and there, you know, isn't a bad thing if on top of those top big signings. So that's the way I'd go. I'd completely change the policy. Okay. Well, I think that just draws things to a nice close there. Thank you very much for coming on, mate. Really, really appreciate your time. No, I enjoyed it. Like, good conversation. I love it. I mean, really insightful. It was about Arsenal, but it was very interesting. Obviously, I hope nothing that you said here actually goes through. I hope you signed some horrible players. But yeah, absolute pleasure having you on, mate. No Thank you again, Pat. I would like to say to you, good luck for the season, but I can't, like, you know. No, I understand. When we need it, we desperately need it. But, you know, until next time, Pat, thank you very much for joining me once again. Lee, thanks again. Absolute pleasure. No problems, guys. Good luck with the channel and everything like that, and have a lovely summer. Thank you very much. And if you like the episode, please, you know, follow it on Spotify, like it on Apple Podcasts, give it a rating, give it a review, share with your mates. Have a great day. Cheers.